All right, Ms. Chum, if you'd activate your audio and video, please, and we'll start first with the Welsh matter.
Yeah, turn off until we have, yeah, until we have to talk.
Doe, good morning.
Good morning.
And Ms. Doe, I see that you are in Bellevue, is that right?
I am out of Bellevue. Yes, I'm actually out of the country now, but yes, my office is in Bellevue.
Okay, all right. In Ms. Welsh's matter, it does not appear to me that there's been service. Do you have anything you want to add, Mr. Doe, on that?
I was personally served.
Okay, so Ms. Welsh is here. Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Miss Welch was served with petition. She was not served with any other supporting evidence or any submissions that might have been submitted by the petitioner, if any. I didn't see any on either, or was unable to open them.
All right. The evidentiary pieces are submitted to the court's electronic file. And I noticed, Mr. Doe, you have submitted response on behalf of Ms. Rush, I believe.
Yes, I also filed a response on behalf of Miss Welch. I'm not sure that the clerks were able to get it in, but I submitted them both on Friday.
Thank you.
The arguments are relatively the same. The allegations are pretty similar as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't have, I read the one for Ms. Rush. The one for Ms. Welsh has not made the file, probably because at the time we weren't aware there was service. So I think I'm guessing staff were anticipating that this would either be a dismissal or a request to continue. Okay. And what you submitted, are you putting it into chat so I can see it?
I'm sorry.
Are you putting what you received in the Welsh matter? Because okay. Mr. Doe, is what you submitted on behalf of Ms. Welsh, is that you indicated it's a similar legal argument you were making on behalf of Ms. Rush. Does it also include a declaration by Ms. Welsh?
Yes, it does.
Going through the process of loading that now. So. What I'm reading here in the declarations of Ms. Welsh, Ms. Rush, and Ms. LeRae are all very similar accounts. Ms. Welsh, if you'll activate your video, please. And raise your right hand for me. Swear the testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And since these cases are related in a variety of ways, I'm going to sort of work my way through these. So I'm going to ask you a question first, Ms. Welsh. I read from the declarations of Ms. Rush and Ms. LeRae, their response to some of these factual issues. I need to know yours. Were you a participant in TikTok videos referring to Ms. Chum?
Yes, Your Honor. I have been a participant in TikTok videos that were regarding Ms. CHHUOM and the continued harassment that many of us were receiving.
And did those videos refer to her by name?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did it give an address?
No, Your Honor. In fact, I did not know Tiffany's address until I was served paperwork. with this temporary protective order.
Okay, and just describe for me, please, the nature of the TikTok.
I had made a few, and honestly, I started doing it perhaps for documentation purposes. I have filed 2 reports with my local sheriff's department here in Louisiana. We have parishes, so I filed 2 with EBRSO. And it was kind of along the lines of showing what this individual has been saying about me. Her and her husband have made blatant threats of bodily harm. They have continued to brag about the arsenal of weapons that they have. Ms. CHHUOM has admitted that she has contacted the Department of Children and Families in my state on numerous occasions, making falsified statements in an effort to, I don't know, have my minor 4-year-old daughter removed from my care over a GoFundMe. So I think a lot of us that had this sort of online presence and became victims of Tiffany CHHUOM and her relentless stalking and in what I would deem intentional emotional distress. I think a lot of us were feeling as if we were trying to make the public aware because we took so many avenues in trying to get legal help, trying to contact the Thurston County Sheriff's Office, contacting our own, where we reside, our sheriffs, to no avail. You know, we really hit a lot of roadblocks, and I think that's when we were just trying to assert ourselves with some sort of public awareness on what was continuing to transpire over the past 1.5 years. I feel like this has been my only opportunity to speak, you know, before a judge about what has been going on. I am not going to be putting this on TikTok. I would have wished it could have been a private manner, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak before you today, because I'm certainly going to request verbally from you for a protective order in Thurston County, if applicable, and not only for myself, but my daughter as well. She hired a process server to serve me in this effort. This process server / private investigator followed my ex-husband from his home approximately 13 miles across town. So now she knows where my partner lives, where my daughter resides. And I have received text messages from random, what would be referred to as a burner phone, expressing bodily harm against myself and my child. And I do fear for our safety, given everything that has transpired.
And prior to the creation of the TikTok, did you know who Ms. CHHUOM was?
No, I was unaware of Ms. CHHUOM. After speaking to a lot of Ms. CHHUOM's other victims, I became made aware that she had been following me on the app TikTok for months, several months. I had no idea who she was. I never asked for any of this. I have written multiple statements to multiple Department of Health, on behalf of some of her other victims. And then, of course, on behalf of myself. But this is, in my own personal opinion, I feel like this is a blatant misuse of resources, a misuse of her credentials. It has been very exhausting, and it has caused a lot of emotional distress for some of her victims. They have lost income. Today, as we sit here in court, we're all losing income. It's just, as my attorney mentioned, there's no grounds for a protective order. I have not harassed her. I have not stalked her. I have only hoped that she would just go away and leave us all alone. And unfortunately, that has not happened yet. When we did go silent, that's when we all started receiving these protective orders. And like I said, I'm very uncomfortable with the fact that she now knows where my partner lives, where I physically live, and my child.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Your Honor, I just want to clarify that the TikTok was in response to what Ms. CHHUOM was doing to the individuals. I know you asked did she know who she was before the TikTok? So it was in response. It wasn't just, kind of out of the blue, just to clarify. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Yes, that's correct.
That was apparent from Ms. Welsh's comments. When all this started, I anticipated that service would be the primary issue. However, service seems to have been accomplished in the 3 cases before the court today that did have temporary protection orders. The prior cases did not have any such orders. And in the 3 cases before the court today, I'll address Ms. Dedeaux's initial objection about jurisdiction. It appears to me that the appearances effectively waive any objection to jurisdiction, and we have actual factual responses by the parties submitted to the underlying claims of Ms. CHHUOM. So given the very broad terms of 7105-800 or 080, I'm sorry, that the legislature just passed, it appears that for purposes of this court, there's jurisdiction over these issues. Ms. CHHUOM, I'm going to turn next to you or Mr. CHHUOM, who's ever going to respond, if you'd activate your audio and video. And I want 1 person responding, not 2. So Ms. CHHUOM, you're the one on, so I want you responding. Raise your right hand, please. Swear that testimony in this case will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I swear.
All right. You have heard from Ms. Welsh. You may have been able to read her document, which I just read. Ms. Welsh, Ms. Rush, and Ms. LeRae all say essentially the same thing, that they didn't know who you were until you followed them. And then they felt your response to them was totally inappropriate, so they created TikTok videos saying that. But all 3 of them indicate that they have done nothing to contact you directly, other than to send you, in at least a couple of occasions, cease and desist orders. I want you to focus solely on the issues of direct contact from any of the parties. And as I have discussed previously, this court is not going to restrain folks from sharing opinions on the internet. That's a world that's not very well regulated these days, and this court's not going to do that. And it's not going to prohibit people from making complaints to licensing agencies. It's up to the agencies to decide whether the complaints they're receiving are valid and whether they choose to listen to them or not. I'm going to be more concerned about threats to people directly. So, Ms. CHHUOM, understanding that, and I know you do that because we've had long conversations when I granted these temporary orders about the limitations of these orders. Give me your best examples, and we'll start with Ms. Welsh, since I just had her on the screen. So start with Ms. Welsh. Tell me, what has she done directly to you that you believe warrants an order? Ms. Welsh alone, and I don't want her lumped into some gang or anything else.
Sure. So she's been contacting or making videos talking to me or my husband since January of 2022. We submitted this morning a contact timeline.
Hold on. I'm going to pin you down. You
Sure.
submitted a lot of stuff. It's not my job to sort through there and try to figure out what works. I'm going to put that on you today. you're going to tell me an incident, or an instant, either one, of what has Ms. Welsh done? That
April
warrants an
8th.
against her?
April 8th, she made a TikTok talking to me and my husband, Peter, who's right here.
April
we've
8th of what-
downloaded.
Of what year?
I'm sorry, of April 8th, 2 days ago.
Okay.
On
so this
TikTok?
year. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And what did it say?
She was talking about how the GoFundMe she made didn't state the things I reported her to CPS for. She said that I was controlling the process server and making him endanger and stalk her. She said that Peter was wrong to claim she was making racist statements against him because she was not. She said that we also didn't need to get the protection order, and she was talking directly to us on that TikTok.
Okay. Did she threaten you in any way?
I would not call that a threat, no.
Okay. Has she ever threatened you?
Yes, she has, and I have also provided screenshots of that.
Okay. I want you to tell me about that.
She has threatened to hack my devices.
When was this?
This was in October and November.
Of 2022.
Yes, sir.
And how did you receive that threat?
In Instagram private messages via email and text.
Email directly to you
Yes, sir.
and text directly to your phone?
Yes, sir.
And you're certain it came from Ms. Welsh?
Yes, sir. She used her real name. We also talked on audio. I also have proof of her giving me that contact info. She also contacted my healthcare attorney, Carol Sue James.
I'm not worried. I said to you, we're just focusing on that. Like I'm
Sure.
going to remove all the chaff here. We're just talking about you. Okay, any other incident of direct contact from Ms. Welsh to you that's of a threatening nature, not a benign nature, a threatening nature?
He said to me things like, I'm going to F you up. I'm going to send people after you. I'm going to hack your devices.
And was that all October, November?
October, November, I might have also been in September. I'd have to double check. It's in the timeline that I provided
This is
to
a
you.
series of texts.
Oh, yes. So yes, private messages and Instagram, emails and texts. Those were the threats.
Okay. Anything else?
She contacted my husband's employer.
No.
That's it.
I leave other people out. Okay.
That's
thank
it.
you. All right. Ms. Welsh, back to you. You've heard what Ms. Chum has to say, that you sent her something the other day, a TikTok.
Your
or
Honor.
Talked about her on TikTok. Hold on. But you don't need to address that because that wasn't of a threatening nature. Talk about what she says were direct messages to her by email, text, or private message in last fall.
Your Honor, I wouldn't know how to hack somebody's device, even if I took extensive courses on doing so. I'm a grad student. I study education and communications. I'm actually fairly poor with technology. I certainly have never once said, and I would be interested for her to show the court those documents, such as me stating that I said that I would hack her devices. Secondly, regarding a statement of I'm going to F you up, like that's not the verbiage that I use ever. And I'm certainly, what am I going to do? Go to Washington? As I mentioned previously, I don't know where she lives. I don't care enough about Ms. CHHUOM the way she thinks I do. This response about, contacting her husband's employer. I didn't even know he had a job. I'm just recently finding this out, just as I mentioned previously too. I just recently found her address due to the protective order that was sent to me. I have never threatened physical or bodily harm against Tiffany CHHUOM. Yes, I am guilty of making TikToks. In those TikToks, I have not I have not said I'm going to hack you, your devices, I'm going to come F you up. I have never once threatened that woman. When I was in contact with her former attorney, Miss Carol Janes, who I am assuming let Miss CHHUOM go, Miss Janes had reached out to me because Tiffany's license as a licensed clinical social worker is currently under review by the Washington Department of Health, and Tiffany was trying to get me to make a statement to this said attorney on behalf of Tiffany. I told Tiffany's attorney that I heard that I was told that Tiffany had been making CPS/DCFS reports. The Department of Children and Families never contacted me. This was just hearsay. And when I mentioned to Miss Janes that I don't understand why this individual would make such an egregious statement, she made multiple statements to the Department of Children and Families. She said that I take my
Okay,
teeth
okay,
out.
right, yeah.
Right.
Like I
So,
told
okay,
Ms.
Your Honor.
CHHUOM, I just want discussion about direct contacts to the parties, not to other agencies.
Yes, sir. I have not contacted Tiffany in several months. Tiffany and I had a mutual, we stopped conversing at the same time. It was mutual. I have not contacted her since. I have no desire to speak to her or talk to her. I do not wish any sort of harm on Ms. CHHUOM. What I really want is to ensure that I'm protected and that my 4-year-old daughter is protected. And
Okay.
I would like to
All right.
move forward with that if applicable.
So I'm gathering from what you just said that in fact, there were messages back and forth between the two of you, I'm guessing in the fall of last year, since you said they were occurring at the same time.
Yes, sir, but they weren't of malicious nature, such as what Tiffany is stating.
What was happening? What were you saying back and forth?
We went back and forth. So from December of 2021 up until maybe September of 2022, I intentionally avoided Tiffany at all. Like, I intentionally avoided her. I accidentally added one of her TikTok pages, and as soon as I did that, she messaged me a slew. I'm talking a ton of stuff on TikTok where it was a bunch of people's names, addresses, licensing information, all of that stuff. She was trying to convince me that there's an online medical cult. And so we had discussions about that. Like I said, there was no malice in it. I did not verbally state to Tiffany or write anything of the sort as to what she just mentioned. That, Your Honor, is not true.
Okay, thank
And Your Honor, I just want to clarify, we haven't seen any of these alleged messages or screenshots have not been submitted to us. They weren't served on my client. And when I go online, I'm not able to see them. So I don't even know what Ms. CHHUOM is referring to.
Ms. CHHUOM, I have previously been through your exhibits in this case, and I'm going through them again. I don't see anything in there that's a direct message regarding a threat by Ms. Welch.
She did it over the weekend, so we had to submit it first thing this morning.
Okay, I looked at those and I didn't see anything there.
We did submit it. Would you like me to resubmit it?
No, I see it.
Your Honor, if anything was done over the weekend, it was certainly doctored, and I have so many character witnesses that would be able to attest
Okay.
to everything that I did. This is, wow.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, sir.
On the Zoom instructions doesn't help. Okay. All right. For Ms. Doe, Ms. Welsh, any others, the Zoom instructions you received for the hearings have in the language there, language telling you how to access the file that has any exhibits that have been submitted. So I want to make sure people understand that. That's where you get the information about how to access anything that has been submitted to the court's reviewing.
Yes, sir. And in fact, so I did go onto the website and I looked at everything that was submitted in its entirety. And one thing that I noticed and I had sent to my attorney, Ms. Sado, was there was one particular part where it says, it states that one of the requirements of this the service on the restrained person, then it says required. The restrained person must be served with a service packet, including a copy of this order, the petition, and any supporting materials filed with the petition. I never received any supporting files. There are a few things when I go to the website that is listed in the paperwork that I received. It's just a lot of like, it's nearly impossible to open. It's almost like coding, like I can't open it. As my attorney mentioned, there's nothing that I saw no evidence, nothing. I believe that one of the protective orders was 11 pages long when I accessed it via the internet. What I received in person was not the full service packet.
Okay.
I mean, Your Honor, just in conclusion, we are requesting attorney's fees to this court. Find that denial is appropriate as we believe it is. I don't think Ms. CHHUOM has shown in any way that there's been any sort of course of conduct, that there has been any contacts that were for the purpose of annoying or harassing her. It's even clear just as of this weekend that she's visiting, my client's TikToks herself to go and look at videos. I don't know what she's looking for, but it's clear that it's not no contact that she's looking for, because she's in fact herself attempting to create contact. You informed her last week, as well as other law enforcement agencies, informing her that her allegation did not rise to the level of harassment or stalking. And yet and still she pursued it nevertheless, requiring my clients to lose income, as my client stated, and to incur fees. And so we are asking, Your Honor, that she be required to pay $2,500 toward attorney's fees for bringing this action that we deem as frivolous.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. CHHUOM,
Yes, Your Honor.
you sent me 3 videos. Is that what you're talking about, where you believe that
No,
Ms.
sir.
Welch threatening statement?
Well, we sent an email this morning. It had the URL to the video, and it also had screenshots from the video.
Screenshots I have that were sent this morning are all Ms. Welch's request for a GoFundMe. That's all I have.
There was a separate email that was sent.
Okay.
Was it last night?
Yeah, I think that's.
Call it up and read it exactly. You're under oath.
Okay, no problem. Did you send that or did I?
I think you said that.
Okay, let me pull that up. I think you sent it, Peter.
Okay.
Okay. So I think this was sent last night. Yeah, maybe that one. Go here. Yeah, okay. So you want us to read verbatim for you the email we sent?
No, I want you to read from me verbatim the concerning message you received from Ms. Welch.
Okay, she made a TikTok that was publicly available on April 8th. In that
What?
she was talking.
Give me a direct, I want a quote. I don't want you summarizing it.
I didn't write down exact quotes, but I did write down a summary of what she said.
And tell me what your summary says.
It says that she's saying she deleted the previous videos that are why we're going to be in court today. It says that she says she did not say any of the things that I'm claiming she said in her GoFundMe, and therefore my CPS report was malicious and false. She also said that she did call my attorney and that she did admit to making the GoFundMe. She did say that the attorney did tell her that I was following my code of ethics. She said that she's going to continue to report me to the Washington Department of Health. She claims that I'm incompetent as a social worker. She also says that me and my husband have a loveless marriage. She said she hopes we do not have a good Easter. She also said that she was in court on April 3rd watching Cody Sharp and Joseph Say. And she also said that she didn't think we needed to ask for this because she wasn't trying to contact us, but she was talking to Peter and I in the video directly.
All right, none of that I would deem harassing.
Your Honor, also, most of that
Okay,
was,
Ms. Welsh, no. Seriously, we're not gonna do this
Yes,
today. I'm
sir.
not gonna provide the platform for the two of you to go at each other.
yes,
We're
sir.
not doing that today.
Thank you.
All right. As to Ms. Welsh, I will deny the request for a full order. I don't find that there's been any statement that falls under the harassment definition for the statute. Clearly, there are lots of comments back and forth, but in this case, I don't find that there's any basis for me to enter such an order. All right, I have denied Ms. Chum's request for a full protection order against Ms. Welch. The temporary order that was in effect until today is no longer in effect, and I will deny the respondent's request for attorney's fees. Thank you, Ms. Welch.
Your Honor, I was also asking if I could receive a protective order there in Thurston County. Is that too being denied?
That too is being denied. What I'm going to suggest to both parties, and the others will probably want to hear the same thing because these two seem to be all very similar cases, to the extent that either party is directly contacting the other party. You can always come back to court and seek a protection order. You all have made it very clear that you do not want to hear from the other party. That is patently clear from the statements that all of you have made. And as I have indicated, we're not here to police what goes on TikTok and wide platforms if people choose to share their opinions out there. This court won't regulate that. I'm going to be more concerned about the direct contacts and threats made back and forth. I don't perceive any of such threats in this case either way, and I will not enter a temporary protection order, but I am concerned by some of the comments that Ms. Welch says that Ms. Chum made to her, and Ms. Chum, you would be well advised to not make such comments in the future. All right, thank you, Ms. Welch.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Rush.
I'm here, Your Honor.
And if you'd activate your video for me. Thank you. And Ms. Chum's already sworn in. Ms. Rush, if you'd raise your right hand, please. Swear the testimony in this case will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do, Your Honor.
All right, you had submitted a statement indicating that in fact, it was Ms. Chum who has initiated this, that you merely contacted her to have her stop with their threats to you. Anything you want to add to the factual basis for your request?
Yes, sir. I'm not sure if part of her complaint is also that I have sent her texts, calls, emails, like she indicated with Ms. Welch. That's not the case. Like I put in my statement, I sent her a cease and desist via certified mail, and sent to her email, which is publicly available. That's the only direct contact. I understand this court is not here to police TikTok videos, but just so you could further understand, I never used her last name. I made multiple statements that I didn't want people going after her. I did not want to share her address. I did not want the same thing to happen to her that happened to me. And outside of the cease and desist, I've not directly contacted her. I'm not sure what screenshot she might have. If she is receiving harassment, that's unfortunate. It's not for me. I don't agree with that. And I'm also not technologically savvy, but I'm willing to turn over whatever devices I need to prove that I did not do that. In return, though, after ignoring her from January to about Labor Day of 2022, my employer was contacted multiple times. She spoke to a woman who answered the phone named Octavia. Tiffany further proved that by posting Octavia's name on one of her, I can't remember if it was Instagram or TikTok. She has attempted to contact my leadership team on LinkedIn. And she even contacted a talent recruiter and tried to send her a message on LinkedIn. She has contacted my board of nursing. And like Ms. Welch explained, we ignored her for most of 2022. The harassment escalated. My chief HR officer at my employer was having to get involved. My board of nursing was having to get involved. And out of sheer frustration with my court system and the Thurston County Sheriff's not being able to help me, that's when we did turn to try a public plea and say, does anyone know of resources to help us? Does anyone understand how the Washington state court system works? As well as simply to raise awareness, because cyber stalking, there are no laws to protect people in this situation. Like I mentioned, I did not use her last name and made multiple statements. I did not want her to be harassed, which is what leads us here today. I simply want this to end. I've not made a single video or anything about her since mid-ish November 2022. I no longer even have my TikTok. I just want to live my life. I don't want to be contacted by her or Peter in any manner. I don't want my employer contacted. I simply want to be left alone.
Right, thank you. Ms. Chum, has Ms. Rush made direct comments or threats to you?
She has repeatedly stated on LinkedIn that she's going to get me and my husband extradited. She's talked directly to us repeatedly. We did send her one email on October 31st and asked her to stop. I reported her one time to her board of nursing for teaching people how to murder their patients.
Have you contacted her directly?
No, I actually have not been contacting any of them. They just like to lie a lot on camera to paint a picture, and they do this to people all over the internet. They also have a business now, Sarah Rouge, Joseph Say, and Laura LeRae in Texas, called Stop Uneth Tech, using my trademark, and they're trying to raise money. They've submitted over 100 complaints against me, while Sarah Rouge taught everyone on the internet how to murder their patients using her clinical knowledge. And this is retaliation for me making a licensing board one time to her board in good faith.
Okay, so what has Ms. Rush done that has you seeking a protection order? You want me to stop her doing what?
She repeatedly tried to give us serve with papers stating to her courts and to her police that we were repeatedly contacting her. We were not. Like I said, there's been one email sent to her that was on October 31st asking her to stop. That is the only contact we've made with her since January of 2022. So there have been repeated attempts to mail things to us. She's mailed letters to us. She's tried to get papers served to us. And she's repeatedly talked to both me and my husband directly on LinkedIn and sold a story that we are mentally ill. She does it on Reddit as well on her Campfire and Canines. And she encourages Joseph Say to repeatedly post our home address, date of birth, middle name, my maiden name, everything on the website on ethtech.com.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Rush, anything else you would like to say?
Yes, Your Honor. I quite honestly don't know where to begin with that. I'll say I've not received an email from her. So she says that was October 31st. I saw a protection order, I think August 23rd. So it was prior to her sending that. And I was quite honest with my judge that there was no direct contact. It was simply about me, but I was afraid that she was contacting my employer, et cetera. And the judge and I had a lengthy conversation around freedom of speech. And my local sheriff's office did tell me, well, you know, if you haven't been directly contacted, it's not criminal. And like I put in my statement to the court, I do remember being quite disappointed, but I've never once said she's directly contacted me. This is the most direct contact that her and I have ever had. And again, if she's receiving emailed threats, et cetera, that's not me, and that's unfortunate. And I do not agree with that.
So you do or do not have a protection order out of Alamance County?
I did at one point. As of today, no. And having understood the conversation that happened last week, I understand that's really not quite pertinent. I only put that in there as far as to show the timeline that I've been trying to get this to end for a while.
Okay, thank you.
And Your Honor, I'll just reiterate our arguments in our response. That again, the contacts don't rise to the level required under the statute. Ms. CHHUOM cannot show, nor has she shown or provided evidence to show that my client has in any way harassed or stalked her. And so we're asking, obviously, they be denied. And just to request in this instance as well, attorney's fees because we deem the action to have been frivolous.
All right, thank you. And Ms. CHHUOM, you get the last word. You're the petitioner. Anything else you want to add? And before you do, just know what you'd indicated to me, a threat to extradite, that's not a threat that the statute encompasses. Somebody can threaten an action that potentially could happen that's legal. I'm more concerned about a threat to come and do you harm. And
I will say that Sarah and Laura Lorraine do repeatedly say on Reddit, they said so in October, November, December, they may have in February of this year, I can't recall, it's in the contact timeline, that they think I should be detained because I'm mentally ill. They're going to 5150 me, lock her up. She's crazy. She's psychotic. With Sarah being a nurse and Laura being a triple licensed mental health provider, it's very scary, sir, to have them threaten to get me involuntarily committed. And they talk as if they're my therapist, and they talk about how they know everything about my diagnosis. In fact, Joseph Say showed up to court on Friday, Superior Court, contesting my healthcare attorney, Jessica Krieger, trying to get my healthcare records sealed. They want to post those on the internet. And it is very scary when Sarah is a nurse, Laura is also a nurse and a therapist, and they're engaging in this behavior with Joseph Say. They have an entire website called unethtech.com. Sarah and Laura promote it all the time, and Joseph talks to me every day on it, and they encourage it. I don't know Joseph. I've never had any contact with him, and I have not been contacting Sarah, Jennifer, or Laura. They are part of a gang.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, if I may, I do not wish to have access to her health records. And if she does have mental health records, my heart go out to her, and I want nothing to do with those. I just wish her well and for me to be left alone. That's my only ask.
All right, thank you. Once again, I've not heard facts which would support the entry of a no contact order in this case, or harassment protection order. I will deny that. And I will deny the petitioner's request for attorney's fees. And I will say the same thing I said in the last case, which is you both are clearly on notice from each other that you want nothing further to do with each other. I would encourage you to respect that. And to the extent that you don't, and there's something actionable in the future, the court would hear those complaints in the future. You know, I'm going to point out here, even though I haven't done Ms. LeRae's case yet, what I'm hearing are what we frequently hear when people are filing complaints about statements made about them on the internet, which of course broadcasts those statements much further than if it's made to your face. And that's obviously a concern folks have, but those aren't statements that the court has authority to regulate. if you're concerned about impacts on your professional career, you consider a lawsuit. You can sue the other person and say they're interfering with your profession or business. But this protection order is meant to get at essentially harassment and complaining to licensing boards or to employers, even though it is in some sense harassing. People have the authority or the right to make complaints, and this court does not restrict the ability to make complaints. And this court also does not determine whether something somebody says about another person is defamatory. So that's not what we do here. We protect the nature of the direct threats. The reason I'm not granting requests for attorney's fees, even though I haven't found a basis for entering final orders in these cases, is one, I did enter temporary protection orders after an ex parte hearing. And two, this has been a common occurrence for folks coming in with complaints about statements made about them. So until we get a full understanding of that, I don't think it's fair to, even though Ms. Dedeaux has made efforts and filed documents in these cases. And to me, it's not appropriate to assess attorney's fees until people fully understand what is actionable and what isn't actionable. And we're getting a lesson in that in these cases. Thank you, Ms. Rush, and we'll move to Ms. LeRae.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
And Ms. LeRae, raise your right hand, please. You swear the testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And Ms. LeRae, I think your response said something very similar to what Ms. Rush said, that your only contacts with Ms. CHHUOM were to tell her to lay off. Is that accurate?
Yes, correct.
And you maintain you've never threatened her?
Absolutely not. I have never threatened her. In fact, the last contact that I initiated with her was in January of 2022, when I had asked her to stop talking about me and sending my personal information to anybody on the internet. The two videos that I have made directed towards Ms. CHHUOM was to ask her to stop speaking about me and putting my information on the internet. I have never threatened to have her 5150'd, and I would, encourage her to try to, provide the evidence for that, because that is not something that I have ever threatened. Just as the others, I do want this to stop. I understand you just said the contacting employers doesn't, really get into in this court, but that has been the stressful process. I have ignored Ms. CHHUOM for most of 2022, and then bringing awareness to it. And in any video that I've made, I've said, I just want this to stop. I do not wish to have any contact with her. I do not wish for her to call my employers, former employers. She has called CPS on me, which has been admitted in the petition, to try to get my child removed from my care on the basis of false allegations that evidence cannot be produced for them because they are false. I just want this to stop. I do not wish any contact. I've never made any threatening statements towards her or to her. That cannot be asserted because it has not happened.
All right, thank you. Ms. CHHUOM?
Yes, Your Honor. I would say it's been a similar pattern. One thing, though, that has been a little bit different, I'm a therapist as well. So, it's concerning to me anytime another mental health professional says there's nude photos of their children on the internet. Laura LeRae has submitted this in writing, so I can provide copies of that to the Washington Department of Health. I've been under investigation for over a year because Laura has told my board that me and my husband, Peter, have somehow gotten nude photos of her children and are trafficking them on the internet. So yes, I did make one one CPS report, because if Laura's saying there are nude photos of her children on the internet, someone should report that to CPS. Aside from that, all I can tell you, sir, is we want nothing to do with Laura LeRae. She's bought a business with Joseph Say that they own in Texas called Stop UnFTech. Her name is on there. You can look it up, Texas Secretary of State. And she's promoting the UnFTech website constantly. She knows Joseph Say is violent and mentally ill, and she's encouraging him to incite violence, while she's also very racist to my husband.
Again, you know, Your
Okay,
Honor.
I'll
if-
come back. I'll come back to Ms. LeRae. Let me
Okay.
make sure Ms. Chum is finished. Ms. Chum, did you have anything else?
No, Your Honor, I try to stay off camera because anything I say, they'll record and use it against my husband and I.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. LeRae, anything else you wish to say?
Again, any accusations of threats or racism, I would ask for the evidence for that because it could not be provided. You know, it will not be provided. These allegations are incredibly false. And I have not made any threats. And the accusations by the CHHUOMs do not rise to the level of harassment because threats have not been made. It's been a very difficult 15 months having to deal and cope with this. All I ask is that she stop speaking about me on the internet. That's all I ask. I want nothing to do with the CHHUOMs. I just would like them to stop speaking about me on the internet. And I understand that this court, does not deal with that in any way, but that is my only request.
Thank you. You get the last word, Ms. Chum. Go ahead.
I would just say, Your Honor, that we appreciate you hearing this out, and we understand that, you can't apply this to harassment. And just that, any reports I made were in good faith. They will lie and say that I repeatedly make reports. They will act like I'm still contacting their employers. These are the tactics that they use. Their goal was to annihilate my entire existence, get me to shut down my business. All of this is retaliation for what I've reported them to. I watched Laura LeRae encourage Jennifer Welch, Woodman Heck, I don't know which of her last names she uses right now, to make a suicide attempt. And Jennifer Welch herself, I did submit this to the court as well, prepared a letter, submitted it to Carol Sue James, my attorney, and also submitted to the New Jersey Attorney General's office that Laura LeRae did do this. Laura is also under an Attorney General investigation with the state of New Jersey right now. She's been under one, I think, since September, and she has been worse. She has been so incredibly retaliatory and paid no mind to the NASW or the ANA Code of Ethics. I have provided that evidence. I am more than happy to drive to the court with the videos on a data stick and anything else you need, but it is not us contacting any of them. They have no evidence of that because that's not happening, and we would really like them to stop. It's embarrassing that a therapist would do this to another therapist for this long online, especially falsely accusing us of selling nude photos of her children. I mean, it's disgusting.
I'd like to, since
Okay.
Ms. Welch is still here,
No.
May I ask-
Ms. LeRae, Ms. LeRae, I'm
Mhm.
just going to cut you off. As I think I told Ms. Welch, there's plenty of platforms out there that you all have been using. We're not going to use the court as another platform for the comments back and forth. I just needed to get answers to the questions I had in order to decide the case. All right, I'm going to deny this request for an order on the same grounds. What I'm hearing are, complaints to employers, to child protective agencies, to licensing agencies, back and forth. And I understand that those can be extremely annoying and aggravating, but they are not the types of annoyance and aggravation that are subject to protection under the temporary or the anti-harassment protection statute. So I will deny the request for the order. And things that are said about somebody typically are not going to be protected by a court. If you feel like there are things that are done that are interfering with your ability to carry out your profession, that may be the basis for a civil lawsuit, but that's not what this proceeding is about. And I will, with Ms. Chum being present, Mr. Chum being present, Ms. LaRae still being present, I will, in this case, once again, say you both have made it very clear you do not wish to hear from the other one. And I would hope you both honor that request from the other. Okay, thank you all very much. Copies of these decisions will be available in your electronic files. Thank you.